Alright, you guys, breaking news. Vegan Gains just snapped this shit up once again. Yeah, I suppose that's not surprising considering the fact that he takes a trip to Snap City at least, I don't know, once a year or more. Some years a lot more than others. You know, honestly, I generally don't, smile when people hurt themselves. Like, it's not, like, obviously that's never a good thing. But I think that it's pretty freaking common for vegans to get injured whenever they try to do some real warrior shit. This is a very common reason why athletes quit veganism. Sean O'Malley came out on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's a UFC fighter talking about how he just noticed he kept getting injured as a vegan. And there's a lot of occurrences of that. Pretty much, I'm sure most people who started subscribing to my channel when I went carnivore and released the videos about why I don't advocate veganism and my own experience with veganism, most of y'all have probably already seen all the testimonials of people who talked about how they got injured. Well, anyway, so let me read this for you guys. Okay, so I just saw this randomly. It was posted 1 hour ago as of the making of this video. June 26, 2021. It is 8 p.m. So, Vegan Gains YouTube page. Hi, this is Jasmine, Vegan Gains' wife. Richard just had an accident squatting. Something in his groin snapped and he couldn't get up afterwards with severe pain. We had to have him carried out on a stretcher to the hospital. I don't know how serious it is or if he is coming home tonight. I wasn't allowed to come along due to COVID-19, so I just have to wait for updates and hope the hospital will provide me with some updates when I call in an hour. If he isn't allowed to come home, I will stream for him on here. It's also his 30th birthday today, so this is probably the best birthday in history. I will post updates as I get them. Jasmine. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see. But, yeah. So, let's put this into perspective, okay? So, first of all, Vegan Gains just turned 30 today, which is interesting. I just turned 30 last week. No, 2 weeks ago. I turned 30 on June 17th. So me and Vegan Gains I'm about 2 weeks older than Vegan Gains. I'm just turned 30. He just turned 30. Vegan Gains is not that fucking strong. His bench press got to about 315 pounds this year, which was a good milestone. But as far as I'm aware, his squat was like in the 200s. Like, his squat sucked. He's not very strong, not lifting that heavy of weight. His deadlift, I'm pretty sure, sucks. So for someone lifting only like 200 pounds, and if I'm wrong, then you can correct me, but like, that's nothing. You know, I squat over 300 for reps, which still is pretty weak, honestly. I deadlift over 400 for reps, which again is weak. But I also compete in jiu-jitsu and I train Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu on a consistent basis at a pretty competitive and vigorous level on top of that. My routine is substantially more hardcore than freaking Vegan Gains. And this isn't like, oh, I'm more hardcore than Vegan Gains. I'm just saying my training is putting me at way more risk of injury than Vegan Gains. Vegan Gains is weak as shit. His lifts are not heavy enough to cause injury like this to a normal, healthy human. There's something wrong with fucking Vegan Gains' health. That is what's going on here, okay? And people who are not blinded by guru syndrome of Vegan Gains, or they're not blinded by vegan dogma, even if they are vegan, should be able to tell that, like, this is not fucking normal, okay? So let's talk a little bit more about this. So, Vegan Gains has a long history of injuries. He has snapped both of his knees, dislocated them or something, and then he blamed it on a genetic disorder. He has made a vlog where he was sitting on a toilet and he spontaneously broke his back getting up off the toilet. Let's see, what else? He tore his pectoral, he tore his pec muscle like a year ago or something. And I believe he's had a variety of other hip injuries and ankle injuries and elbow injuries and shoulder injuries and stuff like that over the years. On top of this, he's also suffered with some pretty severe mood disorder issues like depression, and clearly suffers from like, I don't even know what to call it. The cynicism and other aspects of his personality suggest either an extremely faulty perspective on life or an imbalance in neurotransmitters, which can be directly caused by his diet, obviously. So, you know, and there's other things too. He's already gray, like he's got gray hair. I don't know if he dyes his hair gray, but a lot of carnivores actually have noticed after they go carnivore and their gray hair, even in middle-aged men, the gray hair starts to fill in with color again, like for some reason. And a lot of people suspect it has to do with cholesterol. But anyway, clearly it's not normal for a healthy 30-year-old man to snap his shit up all through his 20s. It does not make sense. Richard's been visiting Snap City every fucking year, and he's always talking about how depressed he gets because this always happens to him. He constantly gets injured. So, and this is very, very common in many other vegans. So let me kind of like tell you guys what I think might be causing this. Okay, so here are so the thing is, a lot of the science suggests, like, so there's not a lot of good science that suggests clinical blood markers of deficiencies in vegan diets outside of B12. Okay, that's often what you'll hear in these vegan circles. But what I've observed is there seems to be subclinical deficiency syndromes that vegans tend to get that are not caught by conventional blood tests. So here are the symptoms I notice. Okay, first of all, related to this situation, skin issues are a huge problem in vegans, okay? Mostly acne on the face, a lot of eczema typically, obviously, and then a lot of times they'll have acne and weird like blemishes and stuff all over their body. Now, for me personally, I've often kind of just figured, well, it's probably all the grains and beans they're eating. They're having an autoimmune response. That's what a lot of carnivores have figured out, and why people go paleo or carnivore in the first place. I reversed my psoriasis and irritable bowel syndrome by removing whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds. Found out I was intolerant to them, and many people do. But what I think is actually going on is a deficiency in collagen precursors. Okay, and I think obviously for a lot of vegans, they're suffering from food intolerances for their skin issues, but skin issues can be largely the result of collagen synthesis, like a hindrance of collagen synthesis. Okay, so beyond the skin issues, another very common thing that happens is people snap their shit up. People get injured, they have a higher occurrence of joint injuries, of muscle tears, of nagging aches and pains. Is pretty common after, you know, generally in the long-term vegans, they start to notice recovery from exercise seems to be impaired. At first, people generally are very hyped up and like, oh yeah, I'm recovering like so much faster on vegan diets, probably all the antioxidants, blah, blah, blah. But after a while, they start to notice, oh shit, I actually can't recover anymore. They start to get fatigue, they start to get insomnia, they start to get depression, higher anxiety and tension issues. They sort of get injured more often, prolonged, delayed onset muscle soreness, and things of that nature tend to occur in long-term vegans at a high frequency. So I've noticed this with a lot of vegans in my circles, okay, multiple circles. I've noticed this in health food stores that I frequent on a regular basis, like cashiers that I interact with. A lot of times the vegan cashiers have this floaty, anxious energy, and that is probably due to carnitine, as well as certain amino acids they're probably deficient in. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole to get down in. But then the other thing is they got acne up the wazoo. And they're always complaining about pains and shit. So cashiers, and then obviously people I've trained with in martial arts, and people that I've trained with at the gym who used to eat meat, and then they all of a sudden just went on the vegan train. They're all hyped up, but they're also complaining about spontaneous issues, and they don't relate it back to the diet. And it's kind of sad, actually, how often they get injured. Now, occasionally you'll get the really blind ones who are, when they're female and they develop anemia, and then they try to treat their anemia with like herbal, like plant-based iron supplements. And I tell them, look, you can be vegan and still reverse your anemia, but you need to take an iron supplement to do so. Anyway, generally speaking, if you formulate your vegan diet properly and can digest beans, nuts, seeds, blah, 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 then you won't have iron deficiency. But anyway, and you can still take an iron supplement if that's a concern for you. But the point I'm trying to make here is that there's a lot of very common issues in vegans, and this is one of them. People snap their shit up, okay? People get injured on a pretty freaking frequent basis. So the problem with this, though, is that Vegan Gains has dug himself in such a rabbit hole of identifying as vegan, and his whole life is like all about debating non-vegans and even debating vegans that like aren't as vegan as him or whatever. Like, and on one level I understand, but I just at what point of does your life have to be so fucking miserable that you start to change the very shit that's creating this misery? One thing that is causing Vegan Gains misery is that he's got a very cynical view of life, and he just fixates on all the things in the world and all the things in people, places, and things that he does not like. This is a common thing in all miserable fucking people, is that they fixate on the things that aren't working. And they completely take for granted the things that are working, and so their whole life is all about failure and problems. So that's a huge reason why he's mentally ill, pretty much. And you know that this injury is going to set him back like hardcore because of his cynicism and his pessimistic mindset. No one can help him with that. The second thing that's causing his misery is that, well, his diet has some things going for it. I mean, he's been eating a shit ton of junk food since he got with Jasmine. That doesn't help, especially when you're getting injured on a frequent basis and you're already on a limited diet like veganism. You need all the freaking whole food nutrients that you can possibly get, plus supplemental insurance. You're not going to get the nutritional support that you need from eating fucking vegan junk food. But he would, in my opinion, benefit from some carnitine, some creatine, and then some collagen precursors. So when I talk about collagen precursors, I'm talking about glycine, I'm talking about proline, I'm talking about things that you can find in connective tissue, gelatin, and such. And I'm also talking about a wide variety of cofactor nutrients that are found in things like liver, things like egg yolks, things like red meat. The vitamin C is good, but like, yeah, I just, this is one thing that vegans generally overlook, is like, you can get you can get a full array of amino acids by mixing the different plant foods, and you can get an adequate number of total protein intake on a vegan diet. But the problem is that there's minimum daily requirements for different physiological functions for individual amino acids too. And so just because you're getting 200 grams of protein does not mean that you're getting the minimum daily requirement for leucine that is optimal for muscle growth and muscle recovery. And glycine is something that is missing. It's glycine and proline and these collagen precursors are not found in adequate amounts or hardly much at all, especially compared to methionine and these supposed counterbalancing amino acids. Like, even if you're eating meat, if you're eating like an omnivore diet, most people are not eating connective tissue and things that are high in those amino acids. And if you're not eating any animal foods at all, I think there might be some soy products that might have these nutrients, but I'm not too sure. You're probably going to be running low. But a huge issue here, and I believe I've had this discussion with Mike Israetel, actually, out of all people, who is recently kind of like, I don't know, trying to get validation from the vegan crowd. And I actually really enjoyed this debate with Vegan Gains and his vegan content lately. He's probably presented like the most awesome vegan moral argument that kind of put it into perspective. Anyway, an issue here with the collagen is that most people believe that glycine and proline and these other amino acids you get from like gelatin and whatnot are not essential, and that your body can already make them from even earlier precursor chains on the amino acid spectrum. So a good example, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, is ALA, okay, like the plant-based omega-3 from flaxseed, is like the lowest chain on the conversion cascade for omega-3. And supposedly your body can convert ALA into DHA and EPA, and I guess DPA is another omega-3 on that chain. But the problem is that there's a variety of enzymatic conversions along the way, and if you're consuming too much omega-6 linoleic acid, it actually uses the same enzyme that is required to convert ALA into EPA and DHA. So just because, so the mainstream idea is, as long as you get enough ALA in your diet, you are going to be fine on omega-3, EPA, and DHA. You don't actually need to consume fish or fish oil or algae. But they're missing some of the more nuanced, complicated confounding variables along that cascade. So basically what I'm saying is, mainstream idea, Mike Israetel and these vegan people think, oh, you don't actually need to consume a high amount of proline and glycine and amino acids and collagen, because your body makes it from precursor amino acids, like earlier on the chain, kind of like ALA. As long as you get enough ALA, you don't need to eat EPA and DHA directly from fish. But you probably would benefit. There's a reason why studies done on fish oil, for example, almost always show conclusively in intervention trials and cohort studies that, and even if it's oxidized or rancid, that fish oil and EPA and DHA, especially EPA, has substantial health benefits no matter what. And I'm pretty sure the same goes for collagen. And so, yeah. And red meat generally contains higher amounts of proline and glycine than most plant foods, and less antagonist amino acids. And there's a lot of other things we need to talk about, different cofactors and things involved in that process that probably interfere with collagen synthesis on a vegan diet. To a certain degree. Like, doesn't obviously vegans don't just fall apart, even though some people might think they do. On a cooked food vegan diet, they get a decent amount of some of these precursors to create collagen. But on a raw vegan diet, this is probably one of the reasons why raw vegans just melt, okay? So, you know, and I know that Richard Vegan Gains and most sensible vegans, right, sensible vegans, most of them, they don't like the raw vegan diet because they know that that's just dangerous, and I agree. So, yeah, I think that this is kind of what happens. So the raw vegans aren't getting jack shit for collagen or amino acids at all. That's why their muscles go away and they're like skin and bones, their hair falls out. They are the worst. Raw vegans, not enough amino acid content of any kind. They just basically turn into a skeleton. Cooked vegans, on the other hand, get enough amino acids to not go completely insane, but they still have like low-grade mood issues. Not enough amino acids to sustain skin health and connective tissue health in the long term, which is probably why they get injured. And this is my hypothesis. This is not a fact, obviously. But obviously, if you start to eat meat, then you're getting even more glycine and proline and collagen boosting amino acids and nutrients. And you're getting carnitine and creatine, which I believe are essential nutrients. Like, when you look at studies done on carnitine supplements and creatine supplements, you see substantial benefits. Carnitine is one of the most reliable nootropic supplements that people talk about like as an essential part of their mood boosting and focus boosting stack. And creatine as well, for everything from memory and mood boosting and focus and energy to athletic performance. But the thing is, if you eat 2 pounds of red meat a day, you get, okay, so actually if you get 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight from whole red meat sources of protein, you're going to get the clinical dose of creatine and carnitine. So I just find it interesting that we have an optimal protein intake that is verified by studies, and you get your protein from the whole red meat source. You also get the clinical dose of creatine and carnitine that's shown in studies that significantly boost human performance and supplements. People, they fucking spend all this money on supplements and they just get it from red meat. So anyway, I think that these vegans are missing these nutrients, and a lot of omnivores probably are too. And so omnivores obviously have better collagen synthesis with the more meat that they eat compared to vegans. But I think there's one more tire to this, and that's people who supplement with collagen directly. And I personally have found that collagen supplementation seemed to have been one of the biggest boosters in my health and my mood and my sleep and things when I first went carnivore. After I removed collagen for a while, I started to notice my energy taper off for some reason. I found a direct benefit in recovery from exercise and joint pain and a wide variety of in my skin health and things when I supplement with gelatin or collagen. So anyway, and the thing is, like, you know, Mike Israetel, you know, will argue on this. Freaking vegans will argue on this, obviously. These people obviously are kind of like, for one, vegans, they don't want to admit, oh, there might be benefit for collagen. This is like an animal thing. And these evidence-based nutrition people don't, like, they kind of like talking shit about keto and collagen just because there's a lot of marketing surrounding these things, and they seem like gimmicks and trends. When the reality is, the reason why keto and collagen is so trendy is because it's so effective for the things that people notice. People notice substantial benefits from these things. So anyway, this is not meant to be a scientific video. Basically, Vegan Gains snapped his shit up because he's lacking collagen precursors. And, you know, I mean, I just wish that the guy would supplement collagen, would start eating red meat, maybe behind the scenes, and just become a beast. And then maybe someone exposes him so that I could, see that, oh shit, I'm probably right. How many vegans do we need to see injure themselves constantly on a vegan diet, switch over to eating meat and then supplementing liver and collagen and shit like that, and realize, oh my god, I was totally fucking wrong, right? Could you imagine Vegan Gains after all the horrible shit he's said about like meat eaters? If he did switch to eating meat and then he's like, oh shit, like I was wrong this whole time. Could you imagine that? And let me say one more thing. So here's the thing. It's true that a lot of these so-called vegans on YouTube that have these awesome physiques and stuff like that, it's true that they often will eat animal products behind the scene and they'll lie about it. A lot of these people claim to be vegan and then they're athletes and shit because they're trying to make money off of veganism, because veganism is very trendy, just like keto. But I think Vegan Gains is one of the few that actually totally believes everything he fucking says. I think Vegan Gains is one of the few pure vegans out there who doesn't cheat. And you know that this is true because he's getting injured and he's suffering from all the issues that you would expect a vegan to suffer from. I don't want to say specifically any details about this individual, but there was an individual in my very, very close group who identified as vegan, and it was on his social media as vegan and all this shit. And he has a really awesome physique. Some people claim some people suspected he was on steroids, but I defended him because I know he's not on steroids. And I'm not a dogmatic biased person, or I try not to be. He just is doing the training and nutrition right, but he identified as vegan, and I was catching him eating dairy protein on a regular basis. And like he would show up to my local environment that we see each other in, and he was eating whey protein bars, and he would carry with him like whey protein snacks. He was eating whey protein Quest chips recently. And I'm like, bro, you're not fucking vegan. Like, I had to call him out, and I would constantly call him a fake vegan and this and that. So then he changed. Then he changed his social media to vegetarian, and he no longer identifies as vegan because he knows that he was lying. Basically, like that's pretty much lying. And I was vegan for an entire year, and I would not, do some bullshit like that. So anyway, this shit happens all the time. So, like, just because someone claims they're vegan and they insist that they're not gonna lie and all this bullshit, don't believe it. Okay? Don't always believe it. Now, some people maybe they don't lie. Vegan Gains is a fucking vegan. Straight up vegan. I don't think he's sneaking animal products behind the scene. I think he needs to start eating meat behind the scene. I think he needs to start supplementing collagen. And I think he'd be a lot fucking better. But anyway, yep, that's what happens. Snap fucking City. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. This is not really funny. I think it's ironic, I guess is a word. I don't know. And it's just fucked up that this is going to continue and they are not going to be able to admit it. You already know he's dreading this. He's expecting people to be like, oh, it's because you're vegan. That's why you got injured, and he's going to be defending that and all this shit. But deep down inside, he's going to be kind of like irritated because he's probably doubting the vegan health at this point. So let me know what you guys think. What do you think about Vegan Gains? Do you think I'm full of crap? Do you think he could use some collagen? And why do you think these vegans suffer from these issues? Let me know in the comments. Talk to y'all next.